Week 4 in college football, the matchups are heating up. That included a Big 12 showdown of top 20 teams. As Texas Tech traveled to Salt Lake to face Utah, the Red Raiders looking for their first 4-0 start since 2013. That was a dozen years ago. Huge game, 10 a.m. local time start, but man, the fans were lathered up and ready to go. Baron Morton on Texas Tech's opening drive over the middle. Jacoby Williams out of the backfield, a lot of running room. 2 catches, 71 yards in the game for Williams. 12 of 19, but 2 picks for Baron Morton. But a good opening drive. They would score after this tremendous run after the catch. 4 plays later, got a touchdown. Now, Utah down 7 here. Wayshawn Parker up the middle, fumbles. Texas Tech recovered. Jacoby Rodriguez, the punch-out. One of 4 Utah turnovers in the first half. It was Red Raiders at halftime, up 10-3, Kevin.
Yeah, Morton dropping back, no one open, looks to run and takes a big hit. Originally, this was ruled targeting, but then it was waved off after further review. Morton would leave the game and not return. But insert freshman Will Hammond at QB for Texas Tech, and he was not afraid of the moment. What do they say? The moment wasn't too big for him. He drops back, hits Coy Eakin for 19 yards.
No, the very next play, Hampton with the pump fakes, and he finds a wide-open receiver, Terrence Carter Jr. for the 24-yard score as the Red Raiders are up at this point 20-0. And then later in the game, to put the icing on the cake, Cameron Dickey up the middle, and this guy would not be denied, breaking multiple tackles to put this one out of reach. Texas wins a big one here. Texas Tech wins it big, 34-10.
Yeah, for much of the day, scoring was tough, but in the fourth quarter, Texas Tech really opens this thing up, outscoring Utah 24-7 to the fourth. They win 34-10. Hammond, 13 of 16, 169, had 61 on the ground. Devin Dampier in the blowout loss, 25 of 38, 162, and 2 interceptions. Texas Tech in this win runs for 173. We'll get to the job Hammond did in a moment. Kevin, let's start with the injury to Baron Morton. Certainly anytime in the head area we see an injury, it's scary. He didn't return. Before he went out, he did throw a couple of interceptions. He was 12 of 19, 142. He's an old school gunslinger, really good quarterback. Disappointing to see him get injured. And obviously, Hammond was able to be up to the task afterwards, but you feel sorry for the young kid.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers for that young man. Football is a violent sport by nature. These things happen. But, you know, it's encouraging to look at both of these teams and how they responded. For both of these teams coming into this one, this was their first real matchup, right? Both had 2 FBS wins versus seemingly lesser opponents and 1 FCS blowout on their schedule. So this was the big game to see who's going to show up for real. Early in this one, the thing I liked about Baron Morton, his quarterback comparison in terms of numbers to Devin Dampier dwarfed him. Okay, he's still doing well in terms of yards per pass, efficiency, and everything else. But this team around him, Texas Tech, man, playing well on all different levels. But then when you have an injury at the quarterback position, how does your team respond? How does that young man respond? Like I said in the highlights, this moment was not too big for Will Hammond. Came in, he averaged 10.2 yards per pass. He's driving the ball downfield. I know that means a lot to the quarterback sitting next to me, but people do not understand how capable he was, 13 for 16, and dealing in this situation. And look at that, only 10 points on the board. And look at how Devin Dampier and his squad was limited by the Texas Tech defense. This is a good statement.
What about Hammond with the 169 through the air and 2 touchdowns?
You know, it always helps when you got a guy waiting in the wind at the quarterback position who can be thrust in a situation like this. Guys, he didn't get in during no blowout situation. The score was 13-10. It was still a tight game at this point. Being able to go into the game 13 for 16, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, and also getting it done on the ground as we see he ended the night with 61 rushing yards. That's just a luxury. Texas Tech is playing, Kevin, you say it all the time, complementary football. Look at the stats on the offensive side of the ball. Multiple receivers, 6 different ball catches with multiple targets in this game and rushing for over close to 200 yards on the road. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago when you go and play a road game, not just any road game, a road game to have a chance to take complete control of your conference in a stadium that's ranked top 20 in all of college football versus a top 20 team. You got to have a few things. Your tough guy gutchies.
Yeah.
Your defense, they came up big, 4 turnovers, and your running game. Texas Tech brought them all today in Utah, and they walked out that stadium victorious.
And to your point, that is hostile territory. That is one of the toughest stadiums to play in. So credit Will Hammond. It'll be interesting to see going forward as we take a look at the remaining schedule for Texas Tech, what they end up doing now at the quarterback position. Baron Morton certainly has earned all of his stripes, and we hope for a speedy recovery. So it's a bye week next week, then on the road against Houston, then home against Kansas, at Arizona State. You get a reeling Oklahoma State outfit in Manhattan to start November at K-State, which is off to a 1-3 start. BYU at home, UCF at home, at West Virginia. What do you make of it, Kevin, for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, currently ranked number 17 and poised to rise in the rankings after their first 4-0 start since 2013?
You know, I like what my counterpart said here. He says, you know, it matters how you win your games and what you're putting on film. Get this. This Texas Tech defense hasn't allowed more than 300 total yards in a game this season and didn't do it today, okay? Only 263 total yards for Utah against this defense. This is what gives me hope as I look down the schedule for Texas Tech. Statement games. This is football, so perception is largely reality. But the perception, when you put this kind of performance on film week after week, that's what lets me know, okay, can I trust the defense? Yes. Can you trust them in hostile territory? Yes. Can you trust your run game? Yes. But can you also trust the quality of your depth? Well, yeah, because Will Hammond just came in and didn't miss a beat at the quarterback, and your defense, of course, still played at a high level and you ran the ball. So for me, defensively, looking down their schedule going forward, man, look, Texas Tech pretty much is in the driver's seat for what they want to do. And it's not because everyone can look at their schedule and say, we can win these games. But not everyone can say that based upon their performance of what they put on film thus far.
And when you look at Dampier, man, this is an electrifying quarterback. They forced him into 2 interceptions. They only ran, Utah, 101 on the ground. For them, that's not a big number. So if you're talking about a Texas Tech defense, and Kevin loves over the years to talk about the Big 12 that there's no defense.
Yes. This is encouraging.
Yeah, big time to hold them to 10 points at home. That's pretty impressive by the Red Raiders.
You know, that's tough. Utah only rushed for 3.3 yards a carry. That's not going to get it. 3.33 equals a punt. And then outside of that, you look at the struggles Dampier had today. On average, on pass attempts, 4.3 yards. Where was the shots downfield? Where was the team that we saw the first 3 games of the season that was really stretching out defense? Now, don't get me wrong. A team that I think they beat, I thought they was tested early, was a UCLA team. But we come to see 4 weeks in the season, they're looking for a head coach. So their first true test really was this Texas Tech team, and they failed miserably.
It makes you wonder, is Texas Tech maybe the clubhouse leader right now in the Big 12?
Well, the Big 12 is unique right now, and I compare the Big 12 to a little brother of the SEC. And I'm going to say this, why? Because there's so many teams that we can look up and say right now they are willing or going to put themselves in position to be competing for a Big 12 championship. And you look at the SEC, it's about the same amount of teams on that same level that you look at the end of the season and like, you know what? This is how they got here. Texas Tech in the Big 12 is in that type of conversations. Now, it's a team that's missing from that conversation, unfortunately, K-State, but we thought would be right there in those conversations as well. But you have a solid 6 to 7 teams in this Big 12 that really can make a push, and we can look back in 10 weeks from now and say, you know what, I'm not surprised they're here.
All right, well done. Cardale Jones, Kevin Carter, I'm Brett Stover. That's the story on Texas Tech's 34-10 resounding victory at Utah Saturday.